Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Paris. This is Stan Larocque. We are live from the Lynx office in Paris. Do we have the sound? All right, we have sound. That's great. Almost professional now. This is the last live YouTube update of the project so far for 2023 before we change to 2024. But don't worry, we'll continue to make those updates next year and the years after, because I think it's a great way to communicate with people that are close to the project what is going on and why. So we have a very busy agenda today. We'll talk about what happened in 2023, but more importantly, we'll talk about the schedule for the hardware, we'll talk about the progress on the software, and we'll talk a bit about what's happening around us, because there are things we communicate on, and there is other things that are happening that we don't necessarily communicate about, and that I will share today. The first thing I will do is I will try to show you a presentation, but first I need to scale this down here. Stay with me. All right. Okay, so you should see my screen. To begin, as I told you with the agenda, I'm going to immediately show you the schedule of our production and also a bit about what's going on in the AR VR ecosystem. So this is the schedule we are dealing with today. In January this year, we had the first units that were manufactured in December 2022. If you remember correctly, those were the shiny units, the first one we really had coming out of the factory, but they did not have the look of the final product because the plastic was shiny, as the mold was not was too polished and not doesn't have the right finish. So those were 200 units that we received in January, and we distributed to partners and our internal team as well, of course. They didn't have the packaging, they didn't have a lot of things, and they needed a lot of hardware correction. So even though the software was not even stable, we needed to make 50 correction just in the hardware, in the mechanical or electrical stuff around this product between that batch and the next one. The next batch came in August 2023. We call that the DVT2 batch. Those names are not random. DVT is called Design, Validation, and Testing. This is something you do when you're very close to production. There are like 3 stages: EVT, DVT, and PVT. EVT is Engineering, Validation, and Testing. This is when you want to make sure that everything works. DVT is that you want to make sure that everything works in the right package. And PVT is Product Validation and Testing. It's basically your first run before mass production. So August 2023, those were devices that came with the packaging that are very close to what we actually want to deliver. So we judge them as commercially viable, and those were 300 units that we received early September. There are still minor corrections that we need to make, like for example, those devices. I have one with me here. They had a bit of scratch from the contact between the packaging and the headsets during transport, and also that the finish is not as ruggedized as we want. So this has been addressed with the next batch. And also the microphone array. We have 4 microphones under the headset around here, and the microphones were not wired correctly, so they were not working. So we corrected that, and so the next batch that is coming, it's a batch of 500 units. They are called PVT units. As I told you, they are basically the first run of mass production. And the production starts right after Chinese New Year. So why? This is a good question, because we paid for those units in September. So you know, us as a company, we paid our manufacturer for those units that were supposed to first, given the schedule we had at the time, arrived in December. but our manufacturer, for very good reasons, doesn't want to run the PVT stage before we are sure we can run the MP production. And so the problem is not hardware, it's not software, it's purely financial. It's purely allocation of money at the right time. And we will only be comfortable to pay for the first run of mass production early next year. So it made sense to move PVT very close to mass production, so we could have no pause between PVT and mass production. So a mass production is basically at least 1,000 headsets per month. And so you need to pay for a lot of components in advance. You need to pay for installments for the factory time and all that. So because we have a fundraising ongoing, we were not able to secure the funding for the first few months of mass production for the end of 2023. But given our situation today, that is much better. We are confident that we will close our fundraising between January and February. And so with Compal, we agreed to start manufacturing around February 10th for the PVT units. So this is unfortunate because of the financial situation. And I want to put a small emphasis on that, is that you have to realize that since January, since basically when we had our first devices coming out of the factory from the DVT1 run, if we could financially assume the production, we would have been able to gain maybe 8 months of delays because we would have been to pay for DVT2 earlier, we would have been able to pay for PVT earlier, and to advance the money for mass production earlier. So this is very frustrating because it's not tied to our team capabilities. The team is doing incredible. We solved every problem we faced basically. But the only problem we're facing now is budget allocation given the size of our company and the fact that we struggle to fundraise fast enough. So we're fundraising. I would say it's going very well. We secured more than half of what we need to really make Lynx this European champion that brings a new player in the XR field. It's a very long road. I'm being very honest with you. It always takes more time than you think. The Kickstarter helped a lot because the Kickstarter demonstrated that people actually want the product. And today we still have a lot of traction around it. I was in Orlando 2 weeks ago for a show called ITSEC, which is a show about VR and AR simulation for defense. So basically simulation today is mainly AR and VR for all the right reasons we know. And at that show, Lynx was a huge success. So there is a huge market for us. We have a lot of demand. It's just that the time to raise money to address our demand is not going as fast as I thought it would be. Even though we have a very strong support from our country, from France, basically, we have a lot of support also from the community. But it's the AR VR world. Regarding fundraising, it's really difficult because first I think a lot of people lost a lot of money. When they invested in other companies that I won't name, but you know them very well. So during the 2016 to 2019 phase, there were a lot of companies that raised money also to do hardware. You have to remember that in 2016, 2017, there were 230 companies that wanted to create a headset. And when you look at how many of them there are today, it's not a lot. It's a very hard game, and you have to allocate your budget right, especially when you start. So we know how to make a dollar go far, and I think we demonstrated that. But right now, you're sharing probably this frustration with me that we cannot distribute as much Lynx headsets as we want, despite the strong demand that we have, because it's really hard to fundraise. And it made me reflect about a lot about my role in all that. Like the team is great, the product is great. Maybe it's me that is pitching not very well, or maybe I'm not the right person to do that in this industry. So it was very hard, personally to do this, to go through this process and still go through this process, despite the fact that I think we know that we need more competition in this field, and that it's not impossible to do what we are doing, to create a new player with a different view on the hardware and the software that we deserve in AR and VR. But here we are. So for now, we paid for the PVT units. So those are paid and secured, and they will be manufactured from February 10th. So we have 500 units coming. This is great news, all to Kickstarters. I received a lot of messages from all kinds of people in the fields that I really want to thank, because usually we see a lot of demand to create apps or to port existing apps, including the most famous one. So I'm really thankful for the community. It's very hard to see this demand from the field, and to see how hard it is and how we're struggling to actually make this a reality because of pure financial fundraising issues. Okay. So that being said, I can't wait, and I'm very looking forward for receiving those units. So we will probably ship them directly to the users, so they won't go through Paris. So the last batch, the DVT2 units, we received 300 devices. We opened them. We opened every one of them. We made sure that 6DoF, hand tracking, optical calibration was working. We had to repair some of the devices. There were some hardware problems that we had for some users. I'm going to give you one example. The alignment between the lens and the display was too tight, and so when the device received some push, the LCD could crack. And so we had 2 users that received a cracked LCD, which is very bad. So we swapped those headsets, and we made hardware correction for the next batch. They are basically things you only discover when you're shipping to users, and we are going through that stage. It's very also rewarding, because we learn a lot, and it's very useful for future products. All right. So we propose for the Kickstarter user, we propose to refund the travel cases, because this is not at the top of our priority list today. And a lot of you are waiting for the headset. We don't want you to wait for other stuff as well already. So if you want a refund for the travel case, this is something we're going to do. There is a possibility to refund the controllers, although just so you know, we are done with that product, which means that we finish the mechanical and electrical design, and we will start producing it after the February batch. We'll find a way to manufacture the first ones, Q1 next year. By the end of Q1 next year, you will see a demo of our controllers, and they are much, much easier to manufacture than headsets. So it won't be a problem to go to market with this product. I'm going now to talk about the software updates I want to share. This is very exciting. So we are going to ship the 1.1.8 tomorrow. So with this update, you will have the ability to deactivate the lens distortion in one eye, in both eyes, or no eyes at all. So which means that maybe you've seen me making demos online or in real life in conferences and presentation, and I was able to stream directly from the headset a very clean image. And I was able to do that because I deactivate the distortion or crazy lens distortion in one of the eyes. So when I wear the headset, I only see correctly through one eye, but on the other eye, I'm able to stream that through screen copy or to record the session, which if you're a developer and want to share what you're working on or if you're a user and you want to share a session, this is a temporary solution, and it can give you a very clean feed. So tomorrow we'll explain in the documentation how to do that. Those are basically ADB commands you have to type on your computer when the headset is plugged. We also have an updated hand tracking service coming from Ultraleap, so we're still working with them very well, and they shipped a new tracking service, so you should see some improvements. You should see some less jitter on the hands, and various small tweaks in the training of their AI hand tracking service. We also made some breaking changes about the key code for some buttons. The right button caused some problems with some OpenXR implementations. This will be also disclosed in the documentation when we release the firmware tomorrow. Also, the big good news about this update is that our runtime is compatible with the Chronos loader, which means that if you have an OpenXR app that was built for the Chronos loader, you should be able to immediately recompile for Lynx without using a different loader or changing what's happening under the hood. So this is great news for compatibility across the ecosystem. So we are pushing hard on that, and we made this compatibility working with the Qualcomm runtime earlier this month, and it's shipping tomorrow as well. We update the launcher, which is the app that allows you to launch other apps. So those are UI tweaks. We updated the onboarding, same, it's mainly UI. We updated the virtual display. The virtual display is an app that you can use to launch 2D apps, 2D Android apps in the headset. And now we open the ability to download APKs, to download application through Volvic. So Volvic is the web browser that we have in the headset. And I told you before that our app store will be a web app store. So when you're going, when you will test the beta of this app store, you will be able to download APK directly from Volvic and install them on your device. So right now we have a beta app store. You can create and distribute free apps. And now from today, you can also create paid apps. So please understand that you can create the paid apps, but as a developer, I don't recommend that you can test, but I don't recommend that you share this app today with other users, because the APK, once someone downloads it, can be shared. And we are going to add resources for developers to allow you to check during the runtime of your application if the device is allowed to run the app or not. So I think there is no compromise to make between being open and also making business. And we are pushing that to our store as well. So the store is going to be very open. We are going to only take 15% of royalties on the paid apps and subscriptions. And you will be you don't need like validation from us necessarily to share an application. That being said, you can share APK, sideload, do everything. So from a developer perspective, it can sound scary because like the APK for an app can be shared and uploaded online and shared by everyone, so I won't see business coming from that. So we want to couple the gatekeeping payment system that we have on our store also with methods and APIs on the device to check that the device belongs to a Lynx account that really bought the app. So we are going to introduce checks in the coming weeks and work with developers that want to upload paid app on our store. So if you are a developer that is working on free apps but also want to work on paid apps, contact us. We would love to create this platform with you This is really challenging, on an infrastructure perspective, and we want to be right for the users and also for the developers. And it's a hard problem. So the more people are at the table that have skin in the game, the better it is. So yeah, thank you. Next, about the SDK and preview. What we call preview is our SDK functionalities that we don't put in the core SDK. But now the SDK is can be for Unity can be registered through Open UPM. So the SDK is on GitHub, and you can add an address to add the SDK directly in your project very easily in Unity. This is described in the documentation of our website as well. We have more samples coming in the SDK, and we have a Vuforia package that we cannot share today because of license and discussions with Vuforia that are being finished. But we are being allowed to share with people that contact us that want to play with Vuforia or that have Vuforia use cases to use this package. So basically, it allows you to use the frames coming from the cameras of Lynx, and we plug that directly to a Vuforia binary and plugin that we glued together with our system. So you can use Vuforia computer vision systems directly in Unity. By the end of the month, we also have a complementary update to the previews where you'll be able not only to access the frames of the camera, but also the 6DOF data, the point cloud, and we added IDs to the frames, so you're able to count the frames that are coming from the video capture code in our system. And also, one very important feature that is coupled with the distortion thing I told you before is that you will be able to record AR and VR together. So you will be able to screenshot and record videos in the headset with the camera feed and the view from the VR objects on top of it. So a sample will show you how to do that in Unity, and we'll probably integrate that in our apps at Lynx. All right, so that was a lot from the software and the hardware. Now we are going to speak a little bit about what's happening around us. So as I told you earlier this month, we were at ITSEC in Orlando. You can Google it. It's a conference that's basically the industrial military complex of the US, showing its strength in the simulation world. So you have a lot of people working in simulation for defense applications, but also industrial applications. And a lot of people were interested in Lynx. We saw many agencies, we saw from many countries, so that was a great show for us. I think for training purposes, Lynx is one of the best headsets out there still, which is very telling. And I was very happy that, despite the hype of and the high cadence of consumer electronics, that Lynx R1 is still a very compelling product when you compare it to even the Quest 3, for example. Something else we created and got approved by the European Commission, a consortium for mixed reality in the industry. So we partner with the University of Valencia in Spain and other companies across Europe to create a consortium to reflect on use cases and a framework for mixed reality in the industry. So basically, for people that are close to that, you can see the use case addressed by HoloLens 2, and we're seeing how we can what's the best path to replace a HoloLens in its context with a Lynx device. And so those people are working with us around that, and we're creating a framework that will start from the hardware, like a dedicated device, all the way to the software for that. And we're very grateful for this union. Also, we have something called the Coalition for Open Digital Ecosystem. So this is a coalition that was created with us, Nothing, the phone company. There is also Qualcomm, Meta. There is Google as well, and basically it's to be again fully transparent with you, this is an organization that we created, all those companies, even those big ones, to discuss and have a debate around the DMA. So the DMA is the Digital Market Act. It's a legislation that was adopted in the European Union to protect the consumer against entities called gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are those huge companies or products that have more than 40 million users, like iMessage or some Google services, and how we can make those services more interoperable. So why is Lynx part of that? We are not in the smartphone industry, but we're in the consumer electronics industry at large, and the bad things that happen in the smartphone world, we are seeing them becoming a reality in the AR and VR market as well, especially now with Apple coming in this market, where they don't adapt, and they're not conformant with OpenXR. They have a very specific format, they have a very specific runtime for everything. You can see that we are again going into a future where interoperability is not going to be there completely, and I'm strongly against that because I'm a user at first, and usually you want to be able to switch from an Android to an iPhone very easily, which is not the case today. And I would want the same for our users, to be able to switch from one headset to another, or to have multiple headsets from different brands discussing together. And this is not going to be the case if the industry is not moving in the direction of the DMA and the European Union discussions that we have. So that's my little role in that. I'm the spokesperson of this organization. And you can say that, but Google and Meta are in that. That's true, and they're not perfect. But if I can give them something, is that at least they are showing goodwill for those questions of interoperability. To give you an example that is not linked to VR directly, there is this thing called RCS, which is basically what's coming after SMS text messages. And Google and Meta, Google is pushing hard the industry to move towards that, and Apple only very recently said that they will be conformant with RCS. And if they don't have this kind of legislation, threat, they won't change their business. And for their headset, the same is going to happen, and I think we don't want that. So yeah, that was a digression on this coalition. We also plan to be at MIT Reality Act 2024. So this will be held at MIT third week of January, I think. And Lynx headsets will be there in a much better capacity than last year. And I'll be curious about what people there will build. And we will also attend a show called SPIE AR VR MR. That is also at the end of January, and first, 29th of January to the 1st of February. So on 3 days, it's at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. And this is where basically everyone in serious about hardware in VR and AR is shopping for components or ideas. And we go there a lot. This is where we discovered this design, for example, and this is where we discover many other things. So if you're a hardcore fan of AR and VR, and you're in the US and San Francisco at this time of the year, I would advise you to go check out this conference. There is one last thing I want to share with you. So I told you about our struggle of fundraising, convincing people that we're doing the right thing, and why we should definitely create this new player, and why it's important. There are people that understand that. They are very powerful people that get the message, and we are close to something. I think we're going to do it. I just don't have the sense yet of who, what, and maybe a bit when. but they are people that are rallying with us every day, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm pretty sure that if you're watching that, you are excited as much as I am about that. And one of those people is Jean-Michel Jarre. So you might not know him. He's in his 70s right now, but he's an artist. He's the one of the fathers, I think, of electronic music, and he understood what we were building with Lynx, and what it can bring to many aspects of society, mixed reality, but he understood what it can bring to the cultural world. And to promote the headset and what you can do with this future, he wanted to use it for his shows. And you have to know that, for example, he still is the record holder for the biggest audience for a concert in the US. A French person, yes. I think it was 1.2 million person in Houston. And so he did various concerts during his life with great electronic music. He's a very famous compositor. And we had an opportunity to make a first mixed reality show at the Versailles Castle. So to celebrate the 400 years of the Versailles Castle, Jean-Michel Jarre is going to use Lynx to show a vision of an artist having a real concert with real people and like a real audience, and also being able to see at the same time the audience that is not there but is virtually attending the concert. So Jean-Michel we will see what he sees through the headset during the concert, but he will see both the real audience and the virtual one. So I have a small trailer here, and we will post the YouTube video. It's on YouTube already, but this is the idea and what will be showcased on the 25th of December. So the concert will be held in the Hall of Mirrors in the Versailles Castle. It's a super production. It's, I don't know, close to €1 million budget production. He's very intense when he builds concerts. So the real show will be crazy, and also the virtual one will be amazing. So he posted this trailer earlier last week, and I think this concert will be seen by, I don't know, between 20 to 40 million people, and they will see him wearing our headset during the concert all the time. So it's going to be a great publicity for us, of course, and it shows that mixed reality is really going to be part of the cultural scene for the years to come, and Jean-Michel has always been a pioneer in that, and we're very thankful to work with him. We work with him, I don't know, like every other day. I'm going to see him at the studio tomorrow to check some stuff on his headsets. That we did a custom headset for him, of course, you'll see that. But yeah, this is a great publicity. This is and he's very vocal about why we need something like Lynx, so that's great. And if you know people that can make a difference in our uprising, then feel free to contact me. We love to collaborate when we can with the resources we have. So today, only him will wear the headset for his concert, but the vision for next year, for Q2 2024, we'll make other concerts, is to also have the audience wear headsets. And this will be, I can't say too much, but this will be absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's the end of today live. Thank you very much from me, but also from the team. I hope you enjoyed the transparency and the messages I had for you as this last show of the year. We are still very excited. I mean, the software is crazy. I'm so excited about the first backers that received their headsets and started to build on top of the platform. It means that it's working. It's going to take, of course, more time than what we think, but I'm very excited. I'm very thankful for everyone who follows this project and understood the ambition and also how important it is. So now we'll take some questions. All right. Let me get back to you. All right. better, right? Okay, so someone asked, on a scale of 0 to 10, how hard would it be to create a hardware production in the European Union to avoid incoming conflict in Taiwan? A bit like the Raspberry Pi industry. That's a good question. Along our fundraising, we have this plan to also create a small industrial plant to, not create it, but install an industrial capacity to create headsets in Europe, especially for the defense market, for example, in the US or in Europe. You have to understand that for this type of products, mixed reality standalone headsets, you need the latest chip and you need the latest hardware. And you can probably build all the plastic and the metal and the textile PCs in Europe or in the US. Saying that you can do everything at home for a consumer electronics device is a lie, I think, because the chips we're using are so advanced and part of a supply chain that is so complex that everything is affecting this supply chain. Every event would affect that. So even though the next Qualcomm chip is manufactured not by TSMC in Taiwan, but by Samsung in South Korea. So you could say, oh, okay, it's safer. That's not really true, because the chemicals and the infrastructure you need to create those chips are not only happening in South Korea. You need neon from Ukraine. You need chemicals and rare earth elements from China. So it's a very interlaced supply chain. So I guess we can mitigate a lot with having this industrial plant in Europe, but saying we are safe from a conflict with China, because this is your question, you're asking about Taiwan, which is basically tied to a Chinese conflict, that would be a much complicated question. But as I told you, our roadmap is to also have this industrial capacity, but don't get blindsided by sovereignty, because sovereignty in semiconductors today doesn't really exist in our world, except for high-end chips and like the edge. You of course have plants in the US or even in France for some components, but again, those are also dependent on components and chemicals that are coming from everywhere and that are not found in the US or in Europe. So be careful with those discussions. How can we attend the Jean-Michel Jarre concert? So let me get back in the chat with some links. So that's where you can check the concert. For those that are French speaking, this was himself on TV this morning talking about Lynx. So what's the timeline for transparent edition headsets? Great questions. I'm also waiting for mine. We are going to manufacture the transparent edition once we enter the MP phase with Lynx R1. So that means that February 10 we manufacture the 500 units, then March we start mass production, and so it will probably happen between April and May. We'll do a run of mass production with transparent PCs. I forgot, but are you going to show the controllers during this live stream? I'm not going to show them today, but I will definitely show them early next year, because they're finished, and the team did a great job. What do you have as a plan to make developers use the platform and stay? First, we have to finish we need to finish to build this infrastructure, and we need them to sit at the table with us saying, this works well on other platforms, you should do the same, or we hate that, you shouldn't do that. And we are still at this learning stage, And so now we have free apps. We are supporting paid apps. So we are building stage by stage. It's a very complicated piece of software, but to keep them here, first we're going to have lower fees, so you don't need to pay anything to publish on our platform, and we only take 15% of the cut of a cut when you sell something on our platform. So on the business side, it's, I would say, good, but also we intend to, once our fundraising is done, we intend to unlock budgets to pay some developers to port existing apps or to create new apps on our platform, and to have like a fund that will be able to help developers around the world to do that. It's not going to be as big as some competitors, but we definitely want to put some money on the platform and onto some developers companies to help them get there with us. Is it hard to create a connect website to allow developers of Lynx and clients to find themselves to help us live live on the device? I don't really understand that question. So in an upcoming firmware update, you'll be able to link your device to your account. So that way we'll be able to check if the apps you're running are were acquired by you or not, for example, but also you will be able to manage your device offline. I mean, on the website, which means that if you want to access beta updates or to access some factory parameters of your headset, like the camera calibration, IMU calibration, and all that, you'll be able to do that on our platform. Is an eye tracking module for Lynx R1 still in discussion? Yes. We have more to share about eye tracking at the end of January. That will probably show that during the SPIE show. So I think that's okay for today. Yeah, well, again, we try to answer everyone on our platform, so feel free to message us there. I'm going to put the link again. Oh, also we have a new short domain that we just acquired. So you can use this short link to share the website, and also this short link will be available for developers to quickly share their apps. Again, something that I wanted to share today that is not available but will be available today or tomorrow is that the apps that we built internally at Lynx, like the planetarium, the famous one, but also maybe the Lux demo, and we had some experiences with like a car dealer stuff. I mean, we have a few demos here and there, and we are going to publish them in our store. So if you want to see how it will look, we'll look out on Twitter and LinkedIn in the coming days, because we will share that. And we'll share that with existing developers as well. Those can be used as examples of what the store will look like, and like what the flow will look like for the users as well. All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you had a good time. I'm happy that we can have those kind of discussions. We are doing our best. I think we're doing a good job with what we have, and in the future we'll do even better with the resources we'll get at the end of the fundraising. So thank you very much. Have a nice Christmas, Happy New Year. Think about us that we'll be working on Christmas Eve with Jean-Michel Jarre for the concert, but it will be amazing. It will be a great show for mixed reality and for Lynx as well. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, thank you very much. Bye, guys.